All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In Chile, the death toll from Saturday's earthquake has topped 700 and is expected to rise. As many as 2 million people have been left homeless. The 8.8 magnitude quake is one of the strongest in recorded history. More than 500,000 homes were destroyed or heavily damaged. Rescue workers are searching for survivors under the rubble of collapsed buildings, but a series of strong aftershocks have hampered the rescue efforts. The quake caused widespread damage to hospitals, schools, roads, and other infrastructure. Officials said adobe homes have been most affected and that indigenous populations are most at risk. A tsunami triggered by the earthquake caused additional damage in some southern areas of Chile. The earthquake hit less than 2 weeks before Chilean President Michelle Bachelet leaves office. On Sunday, she announced a series of emergency measures.
We are facing a massive catastrophe, which has caused damages that will require an enormous effort by both the public and private sectors, one of the largest efforts in the history of the country. This effort will be required both for now and for a period into the future. We are facing an emergency unprecedented in the history of Chile that will require an urgent and rapid response.
We'll have more on the earthquake in a few minutes. We'll be speaking with seismologist Roger Bilham. The Washington Post reports the recent U.S. assault on the Afghan area of Marja is a prelude to larger military campaigns. Senior Obama administration officials say the United States has begun initial planning for a bigger, more complex offensive in Kandahar later this year. 11,000 U.S. and Afghan troops fought in Marja, making it the largest U.S. NATO military operation since 2001. The city of Kandahar is 10 times larger than Marja. President Barack Obama has signed a one-year extension of several provisions in the Patriot Act after the Senate abandoned efforts to reform the controversial law. Privacy groups had urged the Senate to rewrite Section 215 of the bill, which allows the government to secretly access a wide range of private business records without warrant. But Senate Democrats failed to muster enough votes to rewrite the law. Another contested provision that remains in the law allows the government to secretly wiretap people without any connection to terrorists or spies under the so-called lone wolf provision. Meanwhile, newly released Pentagon documents reveal the U.S. military monitored Planned Parenthood and a white supremacist group as part of the government's security preparations for the 2002 Olympics in Utah. The documents also reveal that military intelligence spied on the anti-war group Alaskans for Peace and Justice in 2005. Other documents disclose that the military illegally intercepted civilian cell phone conversations in April 2007 during an exercise at Fort Polk in Louisiana. The documents were obtained by the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Senate Banking Committee Chair Christopher Dodd has abandoned efforts to create an independent consumer financial protection agency. President Obama had proposed creating the agency to protect consumers against abuses in mortgages, credit cards, and other forms of lending. In its place, Dodd's expected to propose the creation of a Bureau of Financial Protection inside the Treasury Department. Dodd's proposed bureau will have far less power and would not be allowed to enforce rules on banks with less than $10 billion in holdings or enforce rules against non-bank financial operations such as payday lenders. Dodd's decision is seen as a victory for Republicans and many business groups who've campaigned against forming a new agency to protect consumers. Unemployment benefits ended on Sunday for hundreds of thousands of Americans after Senate Republicans prevented a vote last week to fund extended benefits for people who've exhausted the basic 26 weeks of coverage. The Senate vote was blocked by a filibuster from Kentucky Republican Jim Bunning. Meanwhile, in the House, the Democratic leadership is struggling to get enough votes to pass a $15 billion jobs bill. Many progressive Democrats have criticized the legislation for focusing too much on tax breaks that will do little to create jobs. Congressmember Lynn Woolsey, the co-chair of the House Progressive Caucus, said, quote, "That's not a jobs bill. For us to call it that and then think we've accomplished something is a mistake," she said. Here in New York, Governor David Paterson withdrew from the state governor's race on Friday after being battered by questions of impropriety for his role in a domestic abuse case involving one of his top aides.
Today I am announcing that I am ending my campaign for governor of the state of New York. it has become increasingly clear to me in the last few days that I cannot run for office and try to manage the state's business at the same time. And right now, New York State needs a leader who can devote full time to this service.
The New York Times revealed last week that Governor Patterson spoke with a woman who'd accused the governor's top aide of assault. After speaking with the governor, the woman failed to appear in court and her case was dismissed. The Wall Street Journal reports at least 2 of the 26 suspects sought by Dubai police for the alleged assassination of a top Hamas leader appear to have entered the United States shortly after his death. One of the suspects is said to have entered the U.S. on January 21st, one day after Mahmoud al-Babu's body was found in a Dubai hotel room. Dubai's police chief has said he is 99% certain Israel's Mossad intelligence agency is behind the killing. The United Nations General Assembly approved a resolution Friday calling for Israel and the Palestinians to conduct impartial investigations into war crimes committed during Israel's assault on Gaza last year, as documented in the Goldstone report. The United States, along with Canada, Nauru, Panama, Macedonia, and Micronesia, joined Israel in voting against the resolution. U.S. Deputy Ambassador Alejandro Wolf reiterated the U.S. view that the Goldstone report is deeply flawed.
We have previously noted shortcomings that include its unbalanced focus on Israel, the negative inferences it draws about Israel's intentions and actions, its failure to deal adequately with the asymmetrical nature of the Gaza conflict, and its failure to assign appropriate responsibility to Hamas for deliberately targeting civilians and basing itself and its operations in heavily civilian-populated urban areas.
The